Matt Spangler has spent over 2 decades building and leading marketing teams that redefine industries.
I have this unique ability to see into the future. Once I have like a concept in mind, I can take culture and combine like the ideas of culture with business and find the way that creativity is going to make business impact.
If you were teaching a 101 marketing class for real estate agents, what would the first lesson be?
Real estate requires two things. One, it's understanding deeply yourself and like the value that you bring, but it also is understanding your customer and the clients that you work with.
He helped transform bold ideas into billion-dollar realities, from launching Tribeca Studios' Emmy-winning documentaries to architecting the Compass brand and changing the real estate industry.
How we as real estate agents should be thinking about AI and marketing in our profession.
To me, there is going to be no difference between the two. You're seeing it already, like the merging of what it means to do marketing and like driven by AI is, I'll be like marketing and we're using AI to do it. It's like, no, it's all the same.
This is Matt Spangler.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of X Factor Marketing. I am super excited to welcome today's guest. He is somebody that I have admired for a very long time, and you are really going to enjoy this conversation. This gentleman has had an incredible journey in the branding and marketing world. He's worked with some amazing brands that you are going to recognize. Brands like the Tribeca Film Festival, Mercedes, Vitamin Water. And in his early days, he was even part of the group that ComedyCentral.com team that brought South Park to life on the web. He spent 8 years at Compass and is credited with bringing the Compass brand to life. Today, he works as a fractional CMO and advisor to multiple companies across the world. Please welcome to the show, Matt Spangler. Matt, thank you so much for joining us.
You bet. Hi, Wendy. Great to see you. It's an honor to be here.
I don't know if I did that introduction for you justice, but you are just such a creative mind, and I have always really enjoyed your perspective. So I'm so glad that you're sitting down to chat with me today.
Oh, thank you so much, Wendy. It was so great to work together while we were at Compass and then see your kind of growth and your, in the CMO seat. EXP is really lucky to have you. So I'm excited to talk today.
Oh, thank you. And, we were chatting before that we sort of started rolling the cameras, so to speak. And I was sharing that one of the things that I've always really loved about you is that I've seen you, from a visionary perspective, and you have left such an imprint on so many brands, Compass included. Like, you were the first marketing hire at Compass. Is that correct?
That's right. Yeah. It was called Urban Compass when I joined, and I challenged the team to change the name and rebrand everything at the start.
Yeah. So not only what you did at Compass, but like many other brands before and after Compass, you've really shaped. But one of the things I've admired is not only do you have that high level vision and creativity, but I've seen you also be able to be so very tactical in how you help people think about marketing and think about branding, and particularly for our audience, here today, real estate professionals and entrepreneurs. So if it's okay with you, I thought that we could spend a little time like having a bit of a coaching session for our listener.
I love that. Yeah,
All right. Okay. So
I feel like like that kind of communication and one-on-one coaching is something that has been one of the most valuable parts of my career. I love doing it. So I'd love to dive in on something like that.
awesome. Okay. All right. So let's have a little coaching session together. So let me start with this question. If you were teaching a 101 marketing class for real estate agents, what would the first lesson be?
I think the number one lesson to me is that there's real estate and creating a brand in real estate requires two things. One, it's understanding deeply yourself and like the value that you bring, but it also is understanding your customer and the clients that you work with. And I think so often agents, when they start to like think about marketing or, think about a brand, they're like, oh, I only think about this one thing, which is basically like, I like this color. I prefer this. It's all me. It's all very kind of centered around themselves. And the reality is, like, this is a service business. This is like when you're building a brand, you have to take into consideration the kind of verging between those two things. Like, okay, well, sure, you have these things to share with the world, but what are the attributes that your clients that you want to attract care about? And how do you merge those two things together? And I think it's something that I begin my courses with, Wendy. It's something I ask them first question, like, who are your clients? Like, who are the people that you feel you have the deepest connection with that can become your core foundation, your sphere, your core people? And I think most real estate agents think like it's everyone. And I sell to everyone.
Be all things to all people.
All things to all people. Kind of, right? I work all these different neighborhoods. It's incredible. When I talk to even New York agents, I'm like, what areas do you work? And they're like, oh, Manhattan or I Brooklyn, and it's like, gosh, guys, there's an incredibly different customer mindset, like in my neighborhood across these various areas. And the ones, this gets back to the principles of any great brand you do for a company, right? Like when you think about running the marketing for XP, you have to think about specifically who are the agents that you all want to attract, right? It's not everybody. It's not. And so you're going to build specific marketing, specific designs, language, programs, etc., around the customers you want to attract. And as a great marketing leader, you do that. We do that, right, as marketing leaders with brands. But agents don't often do that.
Right. Okay. All right. Makes sense. So think about who your customer is first. Okay. So then what are 3 simple things that an agent could do this week to improve their personal brand?
Well, I think number one is you have to think about like distilling the messaging of what you're saying. And what are the differentiators? What are the core things that make you stand out from someone else? And that can be difficult to do, right? But that's vital. That's something I think you've got to be like the top of the list of something you want to do. So you've got to identify, is there a particular technology that you're an expert in? You have differentiation. Do you have a product aspect? Are you a neighborhood expert in something, etc.? So that's number one. Number two, I would say is what ways and resources are you creating for yourself so that you can communicate at a high level, right? Most agents are not necessarily, they're not designers. They're not necessarily marketers. And that is our business. And so are you planning? Are you finding the resources? Are you making sure that you have things in place and considering that when you're starting to build your brand and marketing? Because I think you need to have that to stand out. And that will help, be able to communicate your brand better. And then I will say the third is what channels and areas do you feel the most comfortable with, like telling your story, right? And identifying, not everyone's going to feel comfortable across all channels, right? But if you have your differentiator and you have a quality kind of capability to communicate, like where are you going to focus your energies? And I think that simplification on the third one is I see a lot of agents just try to do too much.
Got it. Okay. So let me see if I got this. So marketing differentiation or messaging differentiation, how you're going to communicate,
The resources to do it. That's right.
resources to do it, and then what channels you're going to use to tell your story.
And not trying to do them all, picking a few that you can really focus on.
Okay. Awesome. Great. Okay. What's one marketing habit you think every agent should build into their weekly routine?
I think for me, looking back at how much time you're spending, right, each week towards your core customer. Like it really does to me get back to this, right? Like if you have a set of 10 activities you're doing and you think that, like if I looked at my deals from last year, I saw that lawyers were 45% of my clients. Right? I went to law school. I have a great community there. I think I can grow the percentage of, that in my business by 15 to 20% this year. And then you look back every week and you go, do you spend more than 20% of your time, marketing to those kind of people and trying to do events for that community, trying to think about, where am I going to reach these? How am I going to do it? that is a quintessential thing to do every week and look back at the end of each week. That's really, and again, it's just not something really done by most agents that I work with.
Yeah, it's so good. And you're doing it in this conversation, our sort of mock coaching conversation, but I've seen you do it in real life, is you're anchoring back to that core customer. So you've done it right now. You've anchored sort of back to the core customer. And you've just said it's not something that you see agents doing, but such an important part of success, right? Of good marketing and good branding.
Some of the best agents, some of the biggest ones that I know they really deeply understand like in who the customers are. It's often maybe that's a finance like direction, right? Some of obviously the top agents who are trading, properties and seeing these properties as assets, their clients are finance individuals, right? And they spend their whole lives cultivating relationships and in the network of those types of people. They're not going and running over here and saying like, oh, I'm just going to go talk to like, moms or nurses in Bed-Stuy or Brooklyn, right? Like, it's like, no, they have a very targeted customer, and they, over time, like any great brand or product, you can start becoming an expert in that thing. And I think that's something that I just will continue to coach agents on focusing on.
Yeah, that's great. Okay. What are some of the biggest mistakes that you see agents make when they're trying to market themselves? And then how can they avoid them?
Well, let me just give you one tactical example. Like, just don't try to spread yourself out to every area. I think people in the suburban areas, like Wendy, I'm sure you see this, like they get it a little more. They understand that. But I think of the cities, I think agents really struggle with this. And, so it's, I was recently coaching an agent, and I asked her, can you show me the set of deals from last year? And I had her bucket the percentages of areas. And then I asked her what her most recent 3 marketing areas were. And she had done like a postcard campaign in an area that she'd had 1 listing in over the last 6 months. And there was an area where she'd had like 6, and she was not doing really much of anything there. And I said, what are the chances that you are going to be able to convince people where you have 1 listing in this massive neighborhood and there's already great competition versus an area that you've got a lot of foothold in, a reputation and expertise, et cetera? I was like, let's shift and like focus on that. And so I think that's a very practical, tactical thing that I think also agents get. I see so many of them just try to be everything to everyone.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like that shiny penny or that like squirrel analogy, right? Is like we sort of go over here and go over there instead of focusing on sort of the core competency or where the business is.
That's right. I think also lately I've been seeing, a lot of agents who with a little bit of the, hey, we're, AI is here, but we're not ready or want to, engage. And I think that's becoming quickly, Wendy, my like big, like issue, like number one issue that I'm seeing with some agents where their business is working. It's great, but, understand that this capability for them, if they don't want to not necessarily get left behind, but if they want to take advantage of this, that they need to at least fundamentally put it into their daily practice. And I think that's one of the other major, like if I tell them one thing, I just ask, what are you doing every day? I mean, it's a simple thing, just going into ChatGPT or going to one of the tools, doing a search, talking with it for 10 or 15 minutes. What are you doing to get comfortable with it in daily usage?
Okay, good. Okay. I'm going to like put a pin in that one because I want to come back to AI for sure and talk to you a little bit about that. If I've got a small budget, so we know that it's been a tough market last couple of years. A lot of agents are dealing with, expense management. So if I've got a small budget, but I want to make a big impact, where do you recommend I focus first?
To me, it's pillar events. You're talking about like, I really recommend with agents in the history I've seen of Compass of those who identify, if you have a small budget, you're a growing agent, two things here, 2 events. I call them pillars because they are things to build around, right? They are like, imagine a thing you stick in the ground. You say, I'm going to do this every year. It's not just this one time I'm going to do it. I'm going to build something that I do is repeatable. I'm going to focus on that customer base, right? That I mentioned, my core customer I want to grow. I'm going to make it I'm going to make it stand out. I'm going to put all my energy and effort into making it truly memorable, something unique and different people would want to go to. It's not just your standard client party. And then I'm going to spend the 2 months ahead of the time, 2 to 3 months promoting that thing. It gives me a month around it to kind of like have this incredible content. And then 2 months afterwards with follow-ups. So from that one event and one investment, you have the content creation, the conversation driver of 4 months. All right. Do that 2 times a year. All of a sudden, that's 8 months of your year that you have something you can really like palpably talk about. And real estate agents, like there's a lot to talk about in the market, but they also need things that they can like anchor around that are cultural and interesting to people that go beyond, right, real estate. And so I think with a small budget, that's where I encourage, because it allows you to like really build the organic and free content much more easily.
That's great. So 2 pillar events. Can you give an example of like what what type of what would a pillar event be? What sort of themes have you seen agents do these events?
Yeah, let's go back to the lawyer like example, right? I work with, I have tons of lawyers. I end up, there's some person in the community that I interact with that is, a light in the community, like someone who really like people would want to hear come talk. It can be as simple as organizing some sort of, conversation with them, putting them into a venue in some really interesting stage, that having maybe them in conversation with someone else who maybe touched another kind of area that was interesting for me. And then kind of creating like either some cultural experience around that. Performance, music, follow up with that, etc. Record it, send the recording it after with the highlights and summaries of that, and so each kind of category of person, and an interest area, generally you can find a way to create like a cultural event that connects back to that. And then of course, if it's in the neighborhood or area that you have an expertise, if it's in a really incredible listing that is, you want to, just have people see very differently in that light. I think always great to take advantage of that too. There was an agent recently in Brooklyn that felt like she owned this really one area. She'd sold a bunch in like what she considered the greatest block in Brooklyn. And she had a very special listing, and she brought together people who were cultural individuals. She came from a like acting and kind of, performance arts background. And so when she had a listing, she set a great pillar event there that she promoted for 3 months, which was this really incredible conversation with an actress that she had known from college, who was, people would want to come here, right? And even like, it was like a very exclusive thing. And it drew people well beyond her core. But it focused on the area that she was in, and that she was representing an incredible listing on the block that she wanted to own and dominate, with the community of people that were connected to her. And it was something that people would like wanted to go to. And it wasn't hard for her to send the invites out.
Those are great examples. Love that. And that is very different than the typical like customer appreciation. So I love the like imagination of that. And I think that those are great examples. So thank you for sharing that. So I think we've bridged a little bit now into content. So let's talk a little bit about sort of content creation. Because I think we are all content creators now. So what's your take on sort of real estate agents as content creators, and what kind of content should we be thinking about creating and sharing?
Well, I mean, yes, it's one of the most challenging things, right, about our industry, and just the world in general, like the amount of content creation requirements for everyone, like, for
For
you, for
everyone,
me,
yeah, all of
for
us.
me, for all of us. Like um, I think and I get back to it, I try to get back two things. One is resources, right? So really kind of like, okay, if you're going to commit to this, right, how do you build a little bit of a system to do it? Because it is a anxiety driving process. And it's the kind of thing that does need some simple systems in place. And so whether that's hiring a person to help you, whether that is like finding out a little bit on your team, some simple tools that they can use to make it a bit easier to schedule, etc. like you do need to implement some simple systems, I think, for this to be successful. Um, Two, I think the big trend, I think, Wendy, moving forward that I'm seeing for this, with the launch of all these clipping services and the kind of more ingredient oriented, like kind of advertising applications you're going to see across places like Instagram, et cetera, is that the ability to just take a big piece of something, a video that you do, you go out with someone, you walk around in a neighborhood, you record a 10-minute video, you just talk for a bunch of time, and then just throwing that up into the tools that then cut those down and clip them for you and create automated things. I think that's like understanding that that's more of the way that content creation should be over time in the near future, I think is one of the big things that agents need to understand. Because that's something not that many get that, right? They still think like, oh my God, I have to do make all these different things, schedule so many different shoots, etc. And sometimes it's like, hey, look, just going out for half-hour shoots and talking about all these different things and doing a couple of neighborhood profiles, etc. You can get 30, 40 videos that you can populate over the course of the next month. So I think understanding that insight is one that's very important as we all think about being content creators right now.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm a huge fan of Opus Clip as an example of one of those tools, right? Where you can take a long form video and get multiple social clips out of that. Do you have a particular tool that you like?
I do. I think Opus is great. I used it. Riverside's actually really good too, as well. I mean, like there's a bunch of these tools. I actually, for some of my clients recently, have recommended small clipping services. There's like a huge growth of these coming out, where for very small fees, you just drop them the video and they will, like, it's like the next level up from a quality bar, from like the quality of the editing and the storytelling in each of the clips. And just to like share my insight with or my pain too. Like I just hired a part-time social media person dedicated to my business too. 30 hours a week. Between 20 and 30 hours a week. Found someone who aligned with my customer base. Right, could really communicate my brand and story. Trusted kind of design level and all the kind of connections points there. And he uses, I think, one of those three tools that I just mentioned, like the Opus website or like a third party to do his service. And so I think that's, well, we're all in it together. And that's why.
Yeah, we're all figuring it out together. That is true. So I would be remiss in this conversation if I didn't ask about design and visual, and how that fits into branding and how agents should be thinking about that in their personal real estate brand. So what advice do you give to agents and how they should be thinking about design, visual, personal brand, how that fits with, brokerage brand, and how they fit all of that together as they think about building their personal brand. And here at EXP, we very much lean into, we want our agents to build their personal brands.
No, I think it is. I don't think agents invest enough in it as a baseline, high level talking point. I don't think that agents across the industry at every brokerage are spending enough of their yearly overall budgets on design. I think they don't see it as a line item in their budget, and I think that's a mistake. It is actually one of the first recommendations I make. I just did a strategic process with a team, a fantastic team in Philadelphia, and they have so many amazing things, so many incredible stories, like all the content is there, but they don't have the quality bar across their execution. They don't have the quote. So I recommended a fantastic video partner to them. I did a process to kind of like recommend another designer to them. And they are now going from here to here. They are off the charts now in the quality with which they can tell their story. And the actual investment that they were making in the context of their overall yearly marketing budget was not that much more. And they're going to get exponentially more in return from that. We're talking about winning 1 or 2 listings more a year kind of thing, minimum. It is a consistent area. You need to hire people who are skilled at that thing. And you need to let them do what they do. You need to guide them. You need to understand all the aspects we talked about, your brand, your customer, what you care about, your areas, and find great partners. And I think it's it's tough. It's tough when you're an individual agent, you don't have the budget and money, but I think I just recommend investing it but when you're a little uncomfortable at what you're spending, because you will get the return, and you will the ability to then across every aspect of your brand, like you said, from the social media content, how your videos look, the topography on your sell sheets, your listing presentation, etc.
Yeah, yeah. One of the things that we do here at EXP is all of our agents get Canva Pro. Uh,
Huge.
yeah, they have that design tool available to them. So at least when they, invest in determining that they have a high level design tool that they can then use for that, because I believe that too, that personal branding is so important.
That's what I use as well. Right? That's a fantastic tool, and like the way that tool is advancing for being able to
Oh,
create incredible
incredible.
designs by just typing in and asking for something. It's a gift. It's an incredible
Yeah,
thing you're giving
it
to the
is a gift.
agents, and to a degree they need to lean into it.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, we've talked a little. You teased AI a couple minutes ago. I want to go back to the AI conversation. I mean, AI is changing and shifting our world, but particularly the marketing game and the marketing world. I'm curious about your thoughts about AI as a marketer, and then about your thoughts about how we as real estate agents should be thinking about AI and marketing in our profession.
Yeah, I mean, to me, there is going to be no difference kind of between the two. And you know this very well too. You're seeing it already, like the merging of what it means to do marketing and like driven by AI is will cease to be like a difference. It won't be like marketing and then we're using AI to do it. It's like, no, it's all the same. Um, I, it's interesting. I've been, doing a bunch of surveys, and again, like this kind of like the percentage, right, of agents, how they're thinking about using AI for marketing strategy. I recently did a talk and interviewed the agents who were going to be there. 80% said they were like intermediate or beginner. But of those, even those who had said they were advanced, only 25% were using it for their marketing strategy. So really seeing AI as a thought partner, not just a tactical, like it can do a thing for me, but actually seeing it as a thinker, as someone who is a partner. And I was at a sales meeting in Brooklyn this morning, asked agents to raise their hand who had assistants, and only 10% of the entire room raised their hands, right? Because this is a really challenging thing for the industry. Like many individual agents, they don't have budget for assistants, et cetera, or marketing people. And that's my biggest thing that I'm trying to emphasize, is that this is the chance for you for $20 a month to have an assistant, to have a marketing strategy person on your team. You just have to understand how to work with it in that way.
Yes. Yeah. I wrote a post this morning actually on LinkedIn about delegating. We always used to think about like you delegate to people, right? You delegate like to somebody that, a person that, you pay less than you, right? Tasks, right? Or delegate to a person that can do something, better than you. But now we can think about AI delegation, right? Like, what can I delegate to AI to free me up to work on things that will grow my business, that will be strategy in my business, that is relationship in my business? And like that mindset shift will like just set you free to really grow your business.
I see you travel around, when you talk about this a bunch with your agents around the country. What are you seeing as one of the kind of like areas of AI implementation that's resonating the most with them?
I think we're starting to see a divide where we're seeing agents move beyond, I can use AI to write my listing remarks, right? That's kind of like phase one, right? So we're still seeing some agents that are still there.
With
And
listing
where I'm
descriptions.
right. And where I'm seeing the divide now is the agents that are moving beyond. And these are the agents that are gaining ground so rapidly, where they're using AI to really evolve their business. So replace systems, right? So when I can use AI now as like another person in my business, right? That can free up hours that now I can put into growth in my business. I can put into other areas of my life if that's where I'm choosing to, put at time in my business. So I'm starting to see that divide where those agents are just adopting and running faster with AI versus the agents that are still so like you said, that hesitancy of like, well, I don't know. So it's fascinating. Like I had an agent say to me just this week, they realized that they could have the conversation with AI. So that's a real light bulb moment when they realize that it's a two-way conversation. That when I can ask AI questions and have the dialogue, and that it's not just a search. When they stopped using AI like they used Google, that's a turning point for people on how they become empowered by AI.
That's right. And when they realize that actually they can ask it the question to ask AI, like they can literally say, like, I don't actually know how to communicate with you. Can you explain to me what's the
Yeah,
best way?
tell me what I should ask
Yeah,
you.
totally. And that
Yes.
kind of like people, if you have done that aspect in the class before, and people are like, wait, what do you, their brain like kind of like shifts, and they're kind of like, wait, I can ask it what question I should ask it. And they're like, yeah, absolutely.
But that's the light bulb moment that I see. When I see people like get that light bulb moment, their usage and how they experience the tool, whatever tool they're using, completely changes.
Yeah. I think the other big one I see, because you and I both know, like, your sphere is your business, and like the inter-communication amongst even just your database. This has like been a challenge for agents for decades, right? Like staying in touch with the people in my database already. And I'm seeing like the agents have realized the power of AI going into their email database, whatever the asset is that contains the information about their history and communication with clients, and that allowing it to send back information saying, hey, the last 6 months, this set of clients are ones that you've not talked to, enough, that had you done previous deals with a year back. And here's like, emails for all 10 of these clients prepared, just copy and paste this into your email and send these today. Those unlocks are, I heard an anecdote just yesterday from an incredible agent who was leveraging that simple aspect of AI and got 3 new leads from just the one search from the last 6 months. From AI going, hey, like, you haven't talked to this person, reach out to them, right? It's that classic database, kind of, but the efficiency of like the email's written and a personal note about the person, not like a random note that just says like, hey, how you doing? But like something about their family, their kid, their dog, what sports they love, whatever it might be, a very personalized thing, because it is able to look back at the history. I think that is a real kind of area that I'm seeing some of the best agents that are really using the tools well take huge advantage right now.
That's fascinating. And we didn't talk about this at the top during your introduction, but you're actually doing some AI coaching courses for agents now, right?
That's right. Yeah. I've really focused my coaching around this, Wendy. I just, mostly like you and I have talked about, like we're seeing this gap. And I love agents. I love working with them. I worked with them for a decade. They're entrepreneurs. They're overwhelmed. They have families. It's tough. It's a tough industry. It's like, it's hard. We know this. And so I really felt like, how can I help people get from like the locked up here to that? Okay, I'm moving. And so, yeah, I developed a course. It's a cohort based, like group coaching, very collaborative. It's usually about 2 weeks, 5 classes during the 2 weeks. And it's been incredible. I think it's really trying to bring people from, again, that beginner intermediate level to past that and getting them using it daily. So it's been super inspiring. The next one's the first week, 2 weeks in December this year.
Oh, that's awesome. And if people were looking to get in touch with you, get information, what's the best way to get that?
Yeah, my email is matt@spangler.studio. That's my email address. I encourage everyone to email me directly. I love talking to agents. So yeah, and I run it all through a platform called Maven, and so it's that I'll follow up to you after on with a link to the course page and stuff.
Cool. We'll include that. Well, this has been a super fun conversation. I've got one last question for you. I ask all my guests. I called the podcast X Factor because I believe that everybody's got that special something about them that is their X Factor. What do you think is your personal X Factor?
I think I have this unique ability to, I don't know if it's like see into the future kind of, but once I have like a concept in mind, I think I'm someone who can take culture and combine like the ideas of culture with business and find the way that creativity is going to make business impact. And I think that is really my like superpower. I've brought the notion of like creative thinking and design, things like that, into businesses where that wasn't necessarily the core, thing, right? And Compass is that perfect example. Like real estate wasn't a place necessarily that thought like creativity, issuing design was something that was important or could separate. And I think I have a great ability to kind of communicate and show how that can happen.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great. That's a great superpower. And I mean, back in the day, a black for sale sign was like the most revolutionary like thing, right? That the real estate industry had ever seen.
That's right. Wait, what? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
So kudos to you for the courage to bring that to the industry.
Full ideas sometimes, right? Have the most impact. No?
Full ideas. Thank you, Matt, so much for joining us today. It's been a pleasure chatting with you.
Awesome. Congrats with everything, Wendy. Thank you so much. It was fun spending time with you. Good to see you.
You too.
Bye.